Currently, you write under the Reliability Mentoring Program, and I'm one of your mentors. Would you like to let the listeners know how mentoring works for you?
Well, mentoring is really good because it puts you in a disciplined frame of mind. It's like, if I'm going to be spending this time with these people, my mentors, to work on my book, we're not going to muck around because it's dedicated time. And also, the mentoring draws on my NDIS funding, which I don't want to waste. So when I'm with my mentors, I'm not mucking around. I'm there to write. I'm there to develop the plot of my book. Now, most of my free writing I do in my own time, they just like things like writing conversations or actually writing what's happening in the story, descriptions and conversations. But all the plot development and stuff I did with Bob, my first mentor, and we used to sit around and plan the plot for days. We did sessions on the plot. That's why the plot is so elaborate in the book. So mentoring really offers a lot of discipline around writing and structure in life, and structure in life helps you get stuff done anyway. So it's good to have structure around what we're doing.
You have some exciting news to share surrounding the release of your second book, 22nd Century Men. Can you tell us where you're at in the writing process?
Well, I finished the first draft, and it took me a while. It took me about a year to get the first draft down because, again, this book deals with some really complicated ideas about technology in the future, and I had to do a bit of research to figure out exactly what I was going to say. But I've written the first draft, and now I'm coming into the second draft. And improving the book and adding more detail. So I'm really excited about 22nd Century Men. I think people are really going to enjoy it, and it's coming along well.
So the themes are quite different in 22nd Century Men. Can you explain the themes?
Well, there's numerous themes explored in 22nd Century Man, but just to summarise what happens in 22nd Century Man, a man named David, in our time now, in the current time period, starts a medical cannabis company, gets very wealthy, and then develops a degenerative brain disorder, and he's going to die, so he gets himself frozen. And then the book starts 100 years later when he gets woken up, and what he realises shortly after being woken up from being frozen is that the world has become this very left-wing extremist communist regime running the country. So it's become this very strict police state, this very regimented police state, to the point where people actually have their daily lives decided for them by the government. People are given schedules by the government which determine what they do at every point throughout the day. So authoritarianism is explored in the book, and the extremes of how far authoritarianism can go. I based that off the social monitoring system that's coming in some parts of China. If you know about some parts of China, they have people on social ranking systems now where people win points for good behaviour and lose points for bad behaviour, and that's the sort of thing that's happening in Australia in 22nd Century Man. So David's an old-fashioned Australian man, so when he learns about all of these new strict laws and expectations, he's quite surprised. So it also deals with, so the book really deals with clashes in culture, because David's this old-fashioned Australian man from our time who grew up in the 80s, and he comes into this very authoritarian future which is extremely strict and regimented. So there's this clash of freedom versus obligation to society which he experiences. And other themes are explored in the book as well, like futuristic technology. In the book, people have brain-computer interfaces so they can communicate telepathically, and they're super intelligent because they're permanently jacked into the internet, so they can receive information from the internet directly into their brains. So the people with these cybernetic implants are super intelligent and telepathic, and also genetic engineering is explored in the book because people don't age. They've been genetically engineered not to age past their 20s. So there's all these people who are 50, 60 years old and they look like they're in their mid-20s. So, yeah.
Can you explain a little bit more about the main technology used in 22nd Century Man?
Well, there's many technologies used in 22nd Century Man, but the brain-computer interfaces really enhance the capabilities of anyone who has them. Like anyone who has the brain-computer interface can communicate telepathically with anyone else who has the brain-computer interface. So people are thinking at a higher level. They're able to communicate faster and quicker, and they're able to exchange information and agree and make arrangements quicker. So everything is quicker. It's this super speed thinking that everybody does who has this technology. It's also interesting in the book that humanity has built a giant space station which sits in orbit above the planet, and it looks a bit like the Death Star from Star Wars, only it's 3 orbs. There are these 3 gigantic metal orbs in the sky, which are this extensive space station which sits in orbit, which serves as a port. So humanity, it was built by the UN in the story. The UN built the space station, and we build our spaceships on the space station, and then they launch into space from the space station. So it's a hub for space travel, and we're out in the solar system. We have colonies on the moons of Jupiter and on Mars and on some other places as well. So that's exciting as well.
Excellent. And just a little turning back to Kings of the New Age, can I ask you if you are actually concerned there will be a World War III?
Oh, well, I think there's always a risk that there will be a global conflict. What I realised, I thought long and hard about this. I thought long and hard about mutually assured destruction as a theory. And what I think about mutually assured destruction is a couple of things. I think if we get rid of all the nuclear weapons and nobody has any nuclear weapons anymore, some rogue state will then suddenly secretly develop 100 nuclear weapons and hold the whole world to ransom, and nobody will. So what mutually assured destruction offers is that everyone is too scared to use the nuclear weapons, so nobody ever uses them. So I think it probably won't be a nuclear war, because I don't think anyone on this planet is crazy enough to launch a nuclear attack. So I don't think we'll have a nuclear war. There could be a third global conflict with conventional warfare. There's a whole bunch of things that could spark a global conflict. There's the issue of Taiwan with China's ambitions to claim ownership over Taiwan. America has made it quite clear that they will go to war to defend Taiwan. So the ball is really in China's court. If they make any move on Taiwan, that could lead to a global conflict. There's a situation with Vladimir Putin's regime continuously invading places, the Crimea, the Ukraine. That could lead to a global conflict. But like I said, I don't think anyone's mad enough to actually use the nuclear weapons. Let's pray that nobody ever uses the nuclear weapons, because I reckon it would kill. I reckon within 20 years, all life on the planet would be dead. If there was a massive nuclear war, I don't think anything would survive past 20 years. I think the radiation would just kill all life on the planet. So let's hope there never is a nuclear war.
So what are your opinions on the current state of the world?
Well, I think overall things are getting better. We just have to avoid nuclear war and catastrophic climate change. And if we can avoid nuclear war and catastrophic climate change, I think things are getting better. I used to be really anti-technology in my 20s. I used to want to live a very natural life. But what I've realised as I've gotten older is, only 150 years ago, we didn't have microwaves, we didn't have fridges, we couldn't store food, we didn't have radios, we couldn't listen to any of this great music and art that we get into on the radio and the television and the media. Now we have all this great stuff, and soon we're going to have robots that are going to make life even easier for people. So the further technology goes, the easier life gets, to the point where we're going to live in a recreational society where life is so leisurely that who could ever complain? I think overall technology is lifting the standard of living, so life on the planet is getting better. But as I said, we just have to avoid nuclear conflict and catastrophic climate change, and hope that no asteroids come and wipe us out either.
Well, thanks for your time, Nate. That was excellent. I'll just remind readers that Kings of the New Age, The Quest of the Balancing Stone is available on Amazon, and 22nd Century Men will be released this year.